Hey everybody, you know what today is, right? Today's Tuesday. That means it's another episode of Title Tuesdays. Let's go back, check out what some of the processors are doing. Let's see if we can get a good topic for today's show. Hey Iris.
Hey Bossman.
So we're filming for Title Tuesdays and we just want to see if you have a good topic for us to talk about our clients. What are you working on right now?
Well, I just received a title commitment and a lien search that I'm reviewing before I send to our client.
Okay, so I think those are a great topic. So let's go into the conference room. Let's sit down, let's talk about lien searches and title searches and how they affect your real estate closing. As you just heard from Iris, she was reviewing a title search and lien search, and we're going to talk about that in today's Title Tuesdays. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kevin Tacher. I'm the founder and CEO of Independence Title, and we truly look at ourselves as the premier title company here in South Florida. Why? Because we like to educate, empower, and encourage you as a consumer, as a professional in the industry, on how you can do better business. By doing better business, you in return will make more money. So today's topic is very important because there's a lot of misconceptions when we're talking about title insurance, what's covered, what's not covered. So the whole premise of a title company and why people buy title insurance derives from liens on title. So every time I use the word lien search when I'm talking in a training or a seminar, people always think that has to do with the insurability of a property. And it's not necessarily true. We have two components, as we said in our little intro, lien searches and title searches, and what are the difference. So the title search are usually items that are recorded in public record. These items could be open mortgages, these could be judgments, IRS tax liens, recorded divorces, homeowners association liens, anything that would be recorded, either indexed by legal description, which in our world is the property address. We go by legal description, not a property address. So it would be things that are indexed by legal description or things that are indexed by a seller's name or a owner's name of a property. That's how we would search it. So what we do is we search the public records. Typically we'll go back for a period of up to 30 years and we try and get a root of title. Once we determine a root of title, we do the search and then we will compile a document which is called the title commitment. That's basically our commitment to insure the property. So automatically clients always think, well, there's your lien search. And it's not true. We're gonna get to the lien search in a minute. This is a title search. So we review the title of the property, we pull what's called the title search report, and we compile the title search report into a document called the title commitment. The title commitment has many different sections to it, which we like to educate a little bit on. The first section is what we call Section A, Schedule A of a title commitment. The Schedule A is what's going to tell us the buyer's name. So always you want to make sure the buyer's name is correct. We see a lot of mistakes with title companies where they misspell the buyer's name or they misspell the company that the buyer is buying the property in. There's a big difference if it was the ABC Property LLC versus ABC Property Corporation. It's two different companies and you could have a problem if it's titled wrong. So the first thing you always want to look at is make sure you as the buyer, your name is right, whether it's your name or your company name. The second thing you want to look at is the lender. If there's a lender involved, it's very important to make sure the right lender is being insured on the property. The lenders always look at it, so you as a buyer need to look at it as well. And the last part I like to really look at on here is the seller's name, because a lot of times we get purchase contracts from real estate agents and they take a shortcut and they write owner of record as the seller. And one thing I always laugh and I always ask the realtor, who's owner of record? I've never met them. So you may be getting a little giggle about that like I do, because I think it's really important to understand that by doing a little bit of homework, you can truly see who the owner of the property is to make sure, A, you're dealing with the right person to sell the property. For those of you that saw our episode with NBC News where we caught the fraudster, imagine you find someone who's trying to sell a property they don't actually own. Well, it happened in our case and it happens all over the United States every single day. So it's very important to make sure you have the right seller. You can check that by looking at the property appraiser site, and this way you get the seller's name. And make sure the right property. Make sure the property that you're dealing with is actually right. Believe it or not, there are times where the legal description is wrong. So again, very, very important to make sure you have the buyer's name, the seller's name, the lender's name, the legal description of the property to make sure you're dealing with the right parcel. Yes, as a title company, it's our responsibility, but sometimes mistakes happen depending on who you're dealing with. So you always want to do a double check because you as the buyer ultimately are going to be on the hook for this property. So you want to make sure things are being done right. The second part, which is one of my favorite parts, is Schedule B1. B1 is very important because these are what are called our requirements. Everything that we need to do in order to clear title. So this could be deeds from a seller to a buyer. They could be corrective deeds from an old seller to the current owner of the property. These could be payoffs of mortgages, payoffs of judgments, association lien payoffs, anything that we say needs to be taken care of in order to insure this property. Again, you as a buyer, it's important to look at this to say, wow, these items need to be cleared. So if you all of a sudden see there's an IRS tax lien in the seller's name, don't you think you want to make sure it's taken care of at closing? Because I'll tell you, if something is not taken care of, yes, you're buying insurance, but do you really want to go through the hassle to have to file a claim and wait all of this time? And usually it's when you're going to sell the property that you realize there was a mistake. And now imagine your sale in 5 years from now, even if it gets delayed by 6 months. Is it fair to you? So by doing a little bit of homework now can save a lot of time and a lot of problems later in the future. And then the last part is also one of my favorites. It's Schedule B2. These are the exceptions to the policy. You know what that means, folks? Exceptions mean it's not covered. So one of the shortcuts a lot of title companies take is they throw things on Schedule B2 because if they put it as an exception, you don't have coverage. And if you don't read to know what you're getting involved in, a lot of times I've seen mortgages, I've seen old deeds, I've seen issues on Schedule B2 that as a title company they should have taken care of and they didn't. They throw it on B2 hoping it goes away, hoping nobody catches it, and if it comes back to be a problem later in the future, guess whose problem it is? Yours, not the title company. So Schedule B2 again is very, very important. So we covered 3 steps: Schedule A, Schedule B1, Schedule B2. Feel free to subscribe below. Feel free to rewind this video to learn a little bit more about it, or you can always give our office a call and we'll be happy to walk you through the process. But wait, we're not done yet because I did tell you there were 2 parts to this. Title search, very, very important. But people always ask, don't you check if there's liens on the property? Well, we do what's called a lien search. Lien search doesn't mean those are for liens. Lien search is checking everything that's not recorded by legal description or seller's name. So you may think, well, you're insuring our property, aren't you checking for liens? Not necessarily. A lot of title companies pull a title search and they check and make sure the title to the property is clear. But lien search issues, there's a lot of times there's one of those exceptions where lien search matters are not covered in the title policy. And most title companies do not remove the lien search exception, which means if a lien search issue comes up, you're not covered. So you need to know what is included in a lien search. Lien search is not recorded issues. The lien search is unrecorded issues. It starts with utility bills on the property. It could be from the current owner, it could be from a previous owner, or it could be from a tenant. A lot of the cities can't just turn the water off, so the problem is the bills will keep growing and growing and growing. And believe it or not, you as an owner of a property could be responsible for your tenant's water, because water is lienable in many different municipalities throughout the state of Florida. And in some municipalities, even tenant water is the responsibility of the owner. So you want to make sure that a lien search as the buyer is being reviewed, because if there's an outstanding utility bill, don't you think you want to know about it? People always ask me, how bad could a water bill get? I've seen $14,000 in outstanding utility bills that had to be mitigated down, which means we asked for a reduction in the fees in order to close a file. So again, utility bills can grow. Number 1 thing to check on. Second thing you want to check on are taxes. It checks property taxes. It checks to make sure property taxes are paid or unpaid. Past year's taxes are due. Again, very, very important. And then my favorite starts going to the building department and the code enforcement department. Permits. Very, very important. We check for open permits, we check for closed permits, and we check for expired permits. A lot of people say, well, why do closed permits matter? Closed permits are important because if someone took out a permit for, let's say, our roof, wouldn't you want to know there's a new roof on the property and it was done with proper permits? We've saved, as a title company, many deals with a lender where the lender wanted proof that the property was done in compliance, and all we had to show was that little extra money we spent on that lien search to show the permit matters were taken care of. So we pull the permit, we show it was opened, it was closed, it was inspected and finalized, and it solved the lender's problem, saving the deal. Again, just another step that we go above and beyond many other title companies. Open permits, obviously you would want to know if there's an open permit. Why? It's not covered in title insurance, but it's covered if all of a sudden you find out that someone opened a permit to put new hurricane windows in and never had it inspected. Because then what happens is the inspector's going to have to come out, check to make sure the property was done in compliance, and what if it wasn't? You could have a very large expense. Or worse, it was, they closed the permit, but meanwhile they saw something else in the house that was done without permits. So again, very, very important to check lien search matters to make sure you have open permits, closed permits, and expired permits, because expired permits are the worst. That means someone opened a permit, let's say for a new roof, maybe never did the roof, or maybe did the roof and never closed the permit. Now it means an inspector has to come out and do a re-inspection of the property, and it's hard for them to see underneath the layers of the roof to see it was done to code. So now it may require you to hire an engineer to get an engineer's letter that the property was done. So again, another very, very important aspect, title searches versus lien searches, because lien searches aren't covered in title insurance. And the last part, which is one of my absolute favorites, is the code enforcement division. All of you know those code enforcement officers. They do not have a problem writing you a citation for anything. So code enforcement violations are not covered in title insurance. A code enforcement lien, if it's an actual lien filed, it's okay. It's usually recorded. It will show up on a title search. We know we have to either resolve it, pay it off, mitigate it, figure out some way around it. But code enforcement violations are not recorded in public record most of the time. And code enforcement violations sometimes accrue a daily fine before they turn into a lien. Very, very important. It could be for repainting a property. With all of these foreclosures now, a lot of times the city will come in and board up the property, and now they will charge just a code enforcement violation on a property. It could be for high grass, it could be for garbage, it could be for anything that they see. It could be pressure washing a house. They want to make sure that properties are looking nice, because wouldn't you want your neighbor's house to look nice in the community? Absolutely, it brings up the values for everybody. So again, we talked about some pretty important things today. As a title company, we check title search, lien search. On our lien searches, we make sure we pull code enforcement, permits, utilities, taxes. These are the things that we pull. And I will tell you, a lot of REO title companies that work for the bank do not provide lien searches. And a lot of the attorneys that represent sellers will not pull a lien search unless you as a buyer ask for it, because the contract does not require it, because it's not part of title insurance. Within your inspection period as a buyer, you need to check all of your municipal issues, which are utilities and code enforcement and permitting issues with the building department, to make sure you're in the know of the history of your property. Sometimes this is the biggest investment of your life, or if you're a realtor, sometimes you're representing a client that it's the biggest investment of their life. So you want to make sure if you're in the know, they're in the know, and you know how to check everything to make sure if you're not dealing with a company like us, who's the premier company here in South Florida, you may be dealing with someone else. And by you having this education, you could save your client's next deal. So again, thank you very much for watching. Again, my name's Kevin Tacher with Independence Title. Please subscribe below. Watch out for our next episode of Title Tuesdays, where we're going to start covering many, many important topics to help empower you, educate you, and make sure you can do good business for the community. So again, thank you very much for watching. We appreciate you taking the time. Have a great day.